So, welcome, Scott. Welcome to the talk show. Thank you for taking out some time to speak with me today. And before we move forward, could you briefly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here. My name is Scott Schober. I'm the president CEO of Berkeley Varitronics Systems. We're based out of Central New Jersey, and we're a design company. We design wireless threat detection tools to keep companies safe and government agencies safe. And I also focus a lot on cybersecurity, best practices, and education.
Okay, that's awesome. Is that the cybersecurity company and the hardware company, are they different companies or are they same?
No, great question. No, it's really one and the same. Berkeley Varitronics Systems is focused on design, but a lot of the design work that we do, the hardware products, are used for stopping wireless threats, which is a big conduit that cyber criminals are using to get into companies' networks. So again, we do sell to a lot of government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, but even small businesses as well. And as well, we're providing education. We're teaching, we're providing training so people can take best practices to keep their network safe, their computers safe, any of their wireless connections safe from cyber criminals. And we've been in business many years. We're a 48-year-old company, which is kind of rare in this industry. And we've been around, at least in the wireless aspects, from about the mid 1980s, developing wireless test tools to build out the cellular networks as we know them, to make our phones work and to keep them secure.
Wow, that's amazing. What motivated you to get into this field and start this company?
Well, it's kind of interesting and maybe different than most people I talk to. This is the single job I've had my entire life.
Okay.
I remember, and it's a family business. It was founded by my father, Gary Schober. He's still our CTO, but he's retired since. And I took over the company as far as running it about 20 years ago or so. And I really started probably about sixth grade when I really got into computers and technology. And I remember when the company was at its growing stages in the basement of our house, learning how to fix things and tinkering. My father taught me how to solder, taught me basic things about electronics and how to fix different things. And it slowly caught on from the sixth grade on. And when I went into middle school, I really was into computers and building computers, hacking with computers. I was a big game player, and I loved to copy and pirate games and trade them with friends. So in a sense, I was kind of a hacker back then. So I got to experience things on my own. My father for a while worked at Atari, which is one of the most well-known game companies in the world. He was the vice president of the research labs. So
Wow.
growing up, myself and my brother especially, we were surrounded by games and computers and technology and hacking, and we just had a ball doing that type of stuff and going online to different forums and hacking passwords and stealing games, getting into mischief kids shouldn't do. We never did it for monetary gain, where most hackers today, they're really out to steal credit cards and steal things from your bank account. We never did that. We did it more as fun back then, and then trading games. Who could own more games than anyone else in the world, kind of owned the world. And it was just really a hobby. But I think that hobby really culminated into the love of technology. And then when I went to college and got my degree in computer science, then I went into, after that, for master's courses at NYU and robotics and media and, again, technology communications. It helped kind of open up and expand my horizons, how all these different things interconnect. And especially with the angle of cybersecurity, because I can help people hopefully share best practices, how to keep safe from cyber criminals. And it's kind of a passion of mine to share that information, impart that information to others. So together, collectively, as a community, we could fight off the hackers and cyber criminals from winning.
That's amazing. Like I believe you must have had, a really amazing childhood, and then transitioning from there into, your own company and your own business. That must have been amazing.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
think it is. And I always tell people when I get often asked career advice or what job should I do, this or that, find something that you're passionate about, that you love to do every day you go to work. Yeah, there's always going to be people problems and business problems. We all know
Mm.
that. You can't change that in any industry. But at least if the core of what you do gets you excited, gets you motivated each day, gets you passionate, you want to wake up and do it. You go home and you're still working because you're always thinking about it. And I think that's the beauty, at least I'm blessed with the privilege of doing that. I feel like I'm always on my job. I'm always talking about cybersecurity. I'm writing
Mhm.
about it. I'm doing interviews about it, great interviews such as this, where it opens up awareness to other people. And I always encourage people, if you do like those type of things, computers, technology, ethical hacking, consider cybersecurity. It might be a nice career that you can choose. And there's so many different vertical areas of expertise that you can develop into. And there's a huge need. And the bonus on all that, you can make a lucrative career, hopefully doing something that you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So for the people who are new, who are just starting out their businesses, what would you say is a basic skill set required to start a business from scratch?
I think one of the fundamental things when you start a business, and this could be from a cybersecurity company like ours, or it could be having a flower shop, don't be afraid to roll up your sleeves and hard work.
Mhm.
Many business owners and startups that I talk to oftentimes are very quick to take their money, their hard-earned money, and have somebody else do the work for them. They'll hire somebody to do the marketing. They'll hire somebody to do the payroll. They'll hire somebody to do, and all those things are fine as you grow with time.
Yeah,
But when you're starting up, every dollar you make is precious to you. So you want to conserve that capital as much as you can. And that really means that you wear many different hats. Instead of getting lawn services and this and that and contracts, everybody doing all the work for you, try to do as much as you can for that you can do yourself or your team can do to keep the capital within the company. And then you don't have to go out and borrow a lot of money or have people invest in you. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but if you want to be able to grow the company to scale and survive through the good times and the bad times, then you need to do that. We've been blessed through the pandemic, through downturns in the economy, other challenges in the industry, to diversify our company as much as possible. So we don't have any one customer that is our single customer that we're dependent upon, or any one industry segment. So if you're starting up a business, look for a little bit of diversification. So that way, when things go like this in the economy, you can survive through it and even thrive through it.
definitely. And so again, for newcomers who are just starting out in 2021, how difficult would you say it is to start a business, especially given this pandemic situation?
I think it's very difficult um, because we see how many businesses, unfortunately, are going under.
Hmm.
Uh, what I suggest to people doing to think about if they're starting their own business, and I don't discourage them not to do it, I discourage them to sit down and jot out what your objectives are on a piece of paper. Take a one sheet piece of paper. And I often do this when I'm launching a product, taking an idea that I want to take to fruition. Jot down all the bullet points, the goods and the bads, and be realistic. Then take that concept, that idea of what your business is to start, talk to other people in that specific industry, listen to them, listen to the good, listen to the bad, and take that feedback with you, because that will help and shape and mold your business that you're starting up with. So you don't go down the path and make the same mistakes that they make. That's more
Hmm.
important. I've often found out if you listen carefully and you hear the mistakes that other business owners have done, the regrets that they've made. Maybe it's hiring too many people too fast, spending too much money in particular areas. I often hear about marketing. They spend too much money right away, marketing and advertising, and that should be done, but at the appropriate stages where you can afford to do it, so you don't spend too much money in hopes of getting money back and selling your services or your product or whatever it is that you're offering. So having that foresight and that balance to jot all those important points down and not being afraid to go through them. What I do is when I go through something on a piece of paper, I like to have the satisfaction of crossing that item off
Hmm.
completed.
Yeah.
It gives you a sense of completion and happiness and satisfaction. So now you can move on to the second priority on your list, the third priority on your list. You can accomplish a lot of things as a business owner, as a startup, if you keep that laser-like focus to what your mission is, to what your offering is. And I can't underestimate enough the importance of talking to your customers. interacting with your customers. I do that on a daily basis. It's not a lot of opportunity as I wish I could because of my time constraints, but I had an email the other day. I took the time to listen to a customer. He needed something specific for a device we sold him years ago. And I went back and forth with email. Then afterwards, he wrote to me a letter. He goes, "Thank you for answering all my questions. By the way, I was delighted when I saw your title. You're the CEO of the company, and you spent the time to answer my questions. You understood my problem. You provided the solution. You followed me through the entire chain. Thank you." And it makes me feel good. It
Yeah.
should make any company feel good. In other words, have that vested interest with the customer. The customer, in a sense, we work for. They pay
Mhm.
our bills. I have to listen to them. Whether they're right, wrong, crazy, it's important to listen to them and take out what you can to help them. If you help them, they will help you and reward you with more business, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that one. Okay, so when you were starting your company in the initial days, what were some of the hurdles that you had to go through?
Well, I guess again for the particular business I am in is a little different because again the company is 48 years old. I'm
Mhm.
51 now, so I was basically 3 years old when the company was founded by my father. So
Okay.
I probably was more of a stumbling block transitioning from diapers to, growing stages or whatever as the company was just starting to grow out. But really, the impact that I have had in this company is probably the last 30 years because that's where I've really been focused. And in a sense, my father groomed me to take over the company, which I think is important. And one of the most important things that he taught me, and I try to do this today, is learn every aspect of your business. That it doesn't mean I'm going to be an expert in every single capacity, but understanding it enough so I could jump in and have a share. In other words, if something needs to be soldered on a bench, I know how to do it. If a part needs to be machined in our machine shop, I know how to do it. If a software engineer's got a struggle with code, I could be the guy sitting down there and talk, you know, computer programming, talk software language with him. If a hardware engineer's frustrated, I can understand his frustration. If somebody's developing an algorithm, I can get it. And being able to do all the things within the company's organization, it allows me to be an asset to the company. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean, again, I do everything, but it allows me to oversee really smart people, probably smarter than myself, do really good at what they do and have a passion for it. So hopefully I can instill with them motivation to do the best that they can and bring the best they can to the company and allows us to grow as a company continually.
That's great. Absolutely true. And what were some of your monumental successes while progressing on this journey of growing your company?
Oh, hundreds of success stories. And I love talking about. I'll share one that's not even 48 hours old. How about that? Um,
Sure.
we developed a product. It's called the Wolfhound Pro. And it's basically a cell phone detection engine that we coupled to a direction finding antenna. We sell these globally around the world for the last number of years. Mostly we sell to correctional facilities so they can get contraband phone out of prisons. We sell them to government agencies so they can, again, keep government agencies secure where wireless is not allowed. But we also offer it in another area, and that other area is search and rescue.
Mhm.
We sold a number of these tools to search and rescue teams, again, around the globe. In this particular case, there's a number of units that was sold through our French reseller in France. And I was contacted earlier this week that, hey, did you see the article that came out? And he sent me a copy of it, and I read it. I said, wow. And they dubbed our tool, the Wolfhound Pro, as a miracle. I said, how could this
Mhm.
be? So I read through the article after translation. And the short of the story is, in France, there was a family walking along. They were in snowshoes walking along, and after a snowstorm at the base of a village up with the mountains not far from there, and a huge avalanche came in. Mother and daughter escaped the avalanche in time, but the father got caught in the midst of the avalanche and was pinned against a tree. The avalanche came right over his head, and it was a serious circumstance. So quickly, they grabbed the people in the village, formed a search and rescue team. 130 people went out to find this man that they knew was trapped into the avalanche. They feared for his life because typically you have a very short period of time to survive with tons of snow on top of you, very little oxygen. 130 people went out and they got parties in groups with poles. They stick in the snow to see if they could find this man. They brought the dogs out to sniff. Unfortunately, they all walked right past him where he was buried. A person on the search and rescue team pulled out their Wolfhound Pro, which our company, Berkeley Varitronics, has designed and manufactured. And he started using it in the direction finding antenna. And sure enough, a ping happened on his screen and he got elated. And he said, guys, come back here, come back here. You just walk this area. I see a cell phone pinging underneath the snow. So they frantically raced back. They dug out the snow. Sure enough, 10 feet under the snow, they found the man. He was still alive. They rushed him to the hospital. Next day, he walked out of the hospital and he survived. And he,
Wow.
as a result, so they dubbed it a miracle that the Wolfhound Pro was used effectively to help this man. And it made the difference in his life. And obviously his family is very happy. And we're thrilled as well to know that the technology that we've developed and perfected over the years is effectively being used to actually save lives. Most of the things that we do, the tools to catch cyber criminals and hackers, you never hear about because nobody ever wants to talk about it. They're embarrassed when an agency is hacked, a government agency is hacked, or a Fortune 500 company is hacked. They try to, downplay it as much as possible. But when you hear about a life is saved as a direct result of your tool being used, it makes you feel good. So there's an example. Look for when you're starting up a company and working with an organization, whatever you make, what good can it do in people's lives? If you have a flower shop and maybe that makes somebody feel good when they get that delivery of flowers, share that story to your customers. When you share stories, practical, real world stories, you feel good, your customers feel good, and you could be doing good in the community, hopefully, with your customers. And that's just a great feeling at the end of the day.
That's an amazing success story. I mean, when you develop products which are able to save human lives, that's, beyond words. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so apart from work, what do you do when you're not working?
Working. No.
Okay.
I do enjoy, I never did growing up. I never enjoyed writing. Uh,
Okay.
I struggled with writing my whole life. Even through college, I took courses in writing and I kind of struggled through them, but I got through them eventually. But I did learn how to write. I'm not saying I'm the best writer or a great writer. I don't want to say that. But I've learned to slowly perfect the craft of how do you write a story? How do you write a book? How do you teach people? And really writing is about stories. So in my off time, I enjoy writing. I just finished my third book is Senior Cyber, really hoping to educate seniors and the elderly that they can feel comfortable using computers, that they can be comfortable on the internet, that they're not afraid of cyber criminals and hackers. And it's written in a much higher level where it's not a deep tech dive, and they can hopefully appreciate some of the real world stories that I share throughout so they can feel empowered to use technology for good and not be afraid of cyber criminals and scammers that are trying to steal their money and take advantage of their innocence.
Yeah, definitely. It's like an amazing cause that you're writing for to educate the little people. That's great. And could you share an important life lesson that you learned?
I have lots of life lessons. In fact, I often coin those terms when I share them with my kids.
Okay.
And I think one of the fundamental things, especially through my life, the first 50 plus years on earth, never give up on things. When you're presented with a challenge and somebody tells you that can't be done, don't give up. Do your research, do your homework, work hard to try to find a solution, a workaround, a backdoor, talk to experts, search on the internet. I often do that. I love developing products,
Mm-hmm.
taking concepts from this very rough idea in my head, and then interacting with engineers who are much smarter than myself, talking to consumers, talking to professors, pulling all of that information together and developing a product that can be used to solve a very specific niche problem. Our company, I think part of our success is we develop products and tools that are not out there. That means it's very hard to do. You don't always have a home run. You have to be willing, if you get one home run out of 10 out of bats, that's pretty good. And the same thing when you're developing products. If we develop a product that's a superstar that we sell thousands of, that's really, really successful,
Hmm.
I feel good about it. It reminds me of a product that we developed years ago. We went to one of the largest commuter rail companies in the United States, and we developed a little black box for cell phone detection. I passionately believed in it. We wanted to prevent the operator of a train from texting on their mobile phone or making a phone call so they're distracted and could potentially crash a train. We had multiple trials. I flew out to California many times, and engineers and salespeople, so on and so forth. We failed miserably. Not necessarily because of us, but the technology just wasn't perfected and all the other pieces weren't there. We didn't give up on it, though. I never gave up on it. And approximately 2, 3 years later, the rail industry came to us and said, "Hey, we heard you guys developed some technology here. We'd love to test it." We said, "Well, actually, we've been perfecting it over the past few years, improving it." We sent them a unit. They said, this is really promising." It took 2 years of them testing it to say, "You guys got this. You've got a solution." As a result, after years and years, experiments, prototypes, beta, pilots, everything, we started getting contracts. And these were not small contracts in the hundreds. These were contracts in the thousands. We've now sold over 14,000 of our little cell phone detection engines.
Wow.
So, and those are, again, what makes you feel good. It's not just the sales side of it. You have business success in monetizing it. Did we do well? Very well. And we still are selling them to this date. And we're very happy from the business side. But more importantly, we're on trains that are stopping operators from getting distracted for potentially crashing the train. Now, if you think about a locomotive pulling 100 cars, what's in these cars? It could be coal, it could be cars, it could be toxic chemicals. If that train goes into a turn, going into a city of 250,000 people and flips over with toxic chemicals, that could kill 250,000 people.
Yeah, definitely.
So preventing that from happening makes you feel good at night. You say you're stopping potentially somebody from getting distracted and potentially from flipping a train over and killing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. There's a sense of satisfaction in that. And I think that's important when you look at an idea, a concept, a business that, and it goes back to the point that you made before, which was beautiful. What makes you happy and gives you success and keeps you going each and every day? It's those type of things, the everyday success stories that you can contribute your small part to in helping something much bigger than you or much bigger than your company. That's a good feeling at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving on to the next one.
Sure.
What's your favorite book and why?
Um, I have to say, over the years, I have read many books. Despite growing up, I was not a reader. One standout book is A Ghost in the Wires. It was written by
Okay.
Kevin Mitnick. I read it. And in fact, I liked it so much, I actually did a book review on it because
Okay.
it was so enjoyable and it had such an impact on myself. I had the fortune of not just reading the book, doing a review on the book, but even getting to meet the author, Kevin Mitnick, and interviewing him several times and corresponding to him. So sometimes when you make that connection with the author, you can relate to them. And he was a
Yeah.
hacker in the days back a number of years ago, more in the world of phone freaking. I could relate to many of those things growing up, similar time period, in the hacking and the antics that I got involved in.
Hmm.
And he's a technologist and an innovator. And I hopefully I could say the same thing about myself over time through the business. So I can relate to him, and he's in that same world of cybersecurity. So great book. If anybody hasn't had a chance to read it, Ghost in the Wires, highly recommended. It's a great read.
Okay. And what's the best and worst part of being a CEO of a company?
Wow. I think the worst part, dealing with employee people problems on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Uh, I hope that I'm a good person, a good CEO, that I can deal with the daily problems. I think I do a reasonable job. And a CEO, you wear, as I mentioned, many hats.
Hmm.
So you're basically putting fires out all day long, all night long, all
Yeah.
weekend. as you get better at it and more comfortable, what I'm hoping to do is impart decision-making ability and power in my employees to solve the problems. You have good employees, there'll be good problem solvers. And guess what? As a CEO, you have less problems to solve yourself. So that, again, that's the bad part of a business, that you're constantly dealing with problems. The good part of it that I love about my job is I have no idea what I'm going to do when I come in the morning for the most part. Every day is a different challenge.
Uh-huh.
I could be dealing with an engineering challenge, a software challenge, a production challenge, a part shortage, something in the machine shop, something with shipping, a customer complaint, somebody comes to us for a new design. Those are all exciting challenges, the unknown. And I'm always up to rolling up my sleeves and say, hey, let's bring this on. Same thing in the world of media and cybersecurity. A new breach may happen. I may get a phone call, and within 5 minutes, I have to pivot from my desk here, quoting a customer, to being interviewed on live TV
Okay.
across the nation. So to
Wow.
me, the dynamics and the excitement of that is kind of fun. The
Mm-hmm.
unknown, it keeps you going, and it also keeps you on your toes, keeping up with current topics, the news, trends, the latest breaches, the vulnerabilities. So to me, I have to go home at night. I don't want to turn the TV on per se. I want to learn. So I'm watching a particular movie, a crime show. I'm doing research on something that happened. So I need to keep this going all the time to keep it fresh for me. Otherwise, I can't help my community, and I can't give back to them and educate and share what I've learned with people I talk to. So it's got to be that very important interchange that you have with yourself to constantly consume information and learn. Don't ever stop learning. Just because you maybe graduate high school or get a certificate or graduate college, to me, that's the starting point of learning. You have to constantly be willing, whatever your career is, whatever your business is, to be learning and to also make decisions. When is technology not a good use? There's a lot of products out there that are a complete distraction for a business owner, for its employees, that are inefficient, but yet they're dubbed as time savers and you can work more efficiently and more productively. Oh, but it costs this much money, subscription or this cost. So be leery not to jump into the latest trend all the time, and do your homework and investigate and say, what can I do to make my business run more efficiently, but keep the people component in it, because people are the heart of any business.
Yeah.
AI is great, machine learning is great, automation is great, quantum computing is coming around the corner. So all of these advances, they're going to really help companies grow and have great efficiencies. But more importantly, having key people behind technology advances, the right people, will allow your company to prosper through good times and bad times.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have a pledge for this year, 2021?
Say that again. I missed the question.
Do you have a pledge or like an aim for this year, 2021?
Yeah, I think with my launch of Senior Cyber, my goal is to focus and help this underserved community, realizing people that are elderly and seniors are taken advantage of because maybe uh, they emotionally attack them. They're more innocent. Maybe they're a little more naive in the world of cybersecurity and technology. My goal and pledge is, hopefully through my book and education, speaking, sharing tips, that it could empower them to feel comfortable with technology, not being afraid to have a conversation over video conferencing, not being afraid to go on the internet and doing research, not being afraid to read their email, fearing that there might be a phishing attack, that if they click, their computer screen is going to lock up and they'll be a victim of ransomware or something else.
Yeah.
So that's a pledge. Educate and share in part what I've learned, the misgivings and misfortunes that I've made and poor decisions. Share that as generously as I can to help others. And I'm a big believer that it will hopefully come back in some positive benefit for myself, my family, my business.
That's a very noble cause. I hope you succeed this year.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have reached the rapid fire section of this interview. So I'm going to ask you short questions. Try to keep your answers short as well. And if you come across any question that you don't want to answer, you can say skip and I'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, so first one is, are you an iPhone or an Android person?
iPhone. Definitely
Okay.
iPhone. I'm anti-Android for many reasons, but
Okay.
iPhone 100%. I'm a big Apple believer. I love the ecosystem.
Okay. What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
First thing I do, I start the coffee pot.
Okay. Three things no one knows about you.
Oof. Love ice skating, love skiing, and I love to play tennis.
Okay. Three things all are related to sports. I like
Yeah.
that.
And I'm not a sports person either, so
Okay.
that's my breakaway from technology, doing non-technology things.
That's a good thing. What's the craziest thing that someone has done for you?
The craziest thing they've done for me. Wow.
Mhm.
Just before jumping on this interview, I was on another interview with somebody that is in the world of cybersecurity, and they actually create cybersecurity comics. And they
Wow.
offered to make a cybersecurity superhero based upon my character, which I was
Wow.
honored to do. And I said, I can't imagine what I look like with a cape and tights on, perhaps. But
Okay.
we'll see what comes out of it. Stay tuned.
That's super interesting. I would definitely love to see that whenever it comes out.
Me too.
Yeah. What's the one thing that you would like to change about yourself?
Wow. I wish I had more time. I
Okay.
feel like in life, and when I say time, I don't just mean from a work standpoint, but having that work family balance. I'm not a balanced person. I'll be 100%. I say yes to everything. I do way too many things, and there's not enough hours in the day. If there was 100 hours in a day, I could probably get 100 more things done.
Okay. What's your spirit animal?
My favorite animal?
Favorite or spirit animal?
Not sure what that word was. Spirit animal, you said?
Spirit animal, yeah.
Geez, I always like monkeys.
Okay.
Monkeys are silly, they're comical, they're funny, they're fun to watch. They bring me encouragement. I have no idea why, but that's usually what I think about when it comes to animals.
Okay. A rumor about you that you wish were true.
Wow. A rumor about me that I wish were true.
Hmm. Or maybe like would you start a rumor about you that you want it to be true, something that you want to be true.
Wow. I can't even think of one. My mind is blank. I'll have to skip that one. Sorry.
Okay. So next one is, what's the easiest way to piss you off?
The easiest way. Oh, probably lie to me.
Okay. What's the one thing that you own that you wish you didn't?
One thing that, one goal that I had that I wish I didn't, you said?
One thing that you own that
Oh,
you
I
wish you
own
didn't.
that I wish I did.
Mhm.
Jeez. Oh, probably right now my car.
Okay.
It, it's about 21. I have a few cars, but one of them is about 20 something years old, and all it does is keep falling apart. And it's got rust in the side, and my kids make fun of me and said it's a tank. So I've
Okay.
probably got to bite the bullet and get another vehicle.
Okay. What's the one thing that you're most afraid of?
Wow. Maybe the fear of the unknown.
Okay.
Sometimes we can get caught up in our mind thinking about what if this happens, what if that happens, and you can almost get yourself scared. So I try not to think beyond what is on my plate today
Mhm.
too much about the future, especially with this pandemic and health and other things like that. It can get a little scary.
Definitely. What's the one thing? What's the most interesting thing you have in your purse or wallet?
Wow. Probably I have a secret code to unlock something written down on one of the cards in my wallet
Okay.
that has access to a lot of other information, but nobody knows that, and they would never find it and would look at it and say, "What is this?" and they'd throw it out.
Okay.
It's my secret code. So don't ever
That's
steal my
amazing.
wallet.
Okay. According to you, what technology will transform the future?
Oh, I would say probably, which is very closely tied to me, quantum computing is pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
because it will make everything that I do in the world of cybersecurity, passwords, encryptions, algorithms, almost overnight be useless and not secure, because
Mm.
quantum computing can have the power to solve these complex algorithms and passwords and hack into systems that are very strongly protected right now. So
Mm.
that's an exciting technology, and I look forward to seeing it come to fruition sooner than later.
Okay. So now you have to rate yourself on the following from 1 to 10,
Okay.
1 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. First one is quick learner.
Quick learn. I'll give myself a 7.
Okay. Book enthusiast.
Used to be a 1, now it's a 10.
Okay. As a leader.
Leader, I got to be humble enough to say probably an 8.
Okay.
I got areas
Uh,
to work on there.
okay. And as a CEO.
CEO, probably a 7 on that.
Okay. As a friend.
As a friend, hopefully a 9.
Okay. That's nice. So with that, we have reached the end of this interview. And before I let you go, I just have to ask you one more thing.
Sure.
Could you think of 3 other people who own businesses or who are CEOs who might be interested in doing an interview with me? And you don't have to name them now. You can get back to me later through email or through LinkedIn.
Yeah. I probably know 100 people, but I'll send you over 3 maybe standouts in my mind.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
So thank you, Scott. Thank you for doing this interview with me, and thank you for doing the rapid fire round as well.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you there. Appreciate
Yeah.
your time, and look forward when it goes up. Let me know, and I'll certainly promote it through my channels.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Great.
Okay then, Scott. Thank you for
Great.
joining today. Take
All
care.
right, and
Bye.
stay warm up there in Canada, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Take care.